Hey everybody, happy Thanksgiving. I just wanted to stop in this morning with a Thanksgiving Day wish and a little Thanksgiving Day message. So last Sunday we were on our way to church and it's about a 25-minute drive. And so on the way over there, I do what I often do when I'm driving. My mind just drifts and I start thinking, and I knew this week would be Thanksgiving. And I started thinking about some Thanksgiving Day posts or articles that I can write. My mind is always thinking about writing one way or another, usually. And so Thanksgiving, it was just a natural topic to come up to be thinking about. But it's like Thanksgiving has been written about 1,000 different ways. So I don't like to write something where there's not like a new angle on it. And so off to church we went, and we were sitting in church. And after church, we went to lunch. And during lunch, I asked the boys what they learned in church Sunday. And Ian said they learned about the 10 lepers. And I said, well, what about them? And he said, well, only one of them said thank you. And so I got to thinking, I knew I was familiar with this story. I've heard it and probably heard it in the context of gratitude. But Ian kind of just was a trigger that put that on my mind and my heart that I was going to spend some time this week looking into that story. So I want to read that story to you real quick and then give you some brief thoughts on it that may be appropriate to your Thanksgiving. It's sure appropriate to mine. So let me just read this to you. And so this is from Luke 17, and it starts with verse 11. And it says, on the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers, who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. When he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourself to the priest. As they went, they were cleansed. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice, and he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. And so some thoughts on this as I dug into that this week and reread it over and over and read some different articles on that. Some things that really just stuck out to me. So you got to understand that when they all came to Jesus and they were crying out in those days, before they could be allowed back into their communities, they had to go see the priest. The priest had to give them sort of a certificate of healing, and then they could be integrated back in the community. So for them to turn, as Jesus told them to go see the priest, they all had to have some level of faith that by the time they got there, they were going to be healed. And so I can understand too, as they were walking, acting on faith, when they were cleansed and healed, I kind of get it why they all didn't just immediately turn around and go back and say, thank you. They clearly were overjoyed, probably thinking about getting back to their families who they hadn't seen in who knows how long, because they, in those times when you were a leper, you were just kicked out of all community, all family, and kind of lived together. But the one dude who turned around and went back, and the scripture makes the point to say this wasn't even one of the Jews, this was a Samaritan, so he was in so many ways the unlikeliest to turn back around and go tell Jesus, thank you, but he did. The other thing that came to mind is, so Jesus asked him, where are the other 9? So he didn't tell them when he healed them and sent them to the priest, make sure you come back and say thanks. But clearly in asking the Samaritan, where are those other 9, there was some expectation that they would come back and express gratitude. And I got to thinking about that. Why is it such a big deal for Jesus to expect gratitude out of them? And I don't know how many times lately with my kids I have talked to them about gratitude, and more specifically, a lack of gratitude. But in that expectation isn't a need I have to hear thank you. It's not a need I have for their gratitude. It's this understanding that I have. If I can build gratitude into them, if I can expect it in them, that's the best path of life for them. Living a life of gratitude, I've said it over and over. If we live a life of gratitude, we're naturally looking for the good in life. We're naturally looking for the things that we are blessed with. And sometimes that's in some of the most uncomfortable situations. Sometimes life isn't going so good. But with an attitude of gratitude, we can always be looking for the bright side of things. And so this expectation Jesus had wasn't for them to all come back and drop at his feet like the Samaritan did so that he could feel thanked. He knew the kind of life that would be out in front of them if they could live a life of thankfulness. So the point is, I guess, that sometimes, gratitude's more than just feeling thankful. I think all 10 of them probably felt thankful that they had been cured of this horrible disease at that time. And I think they all knew it was Jesus and probably felt thankful toward him. But only one of them actually practiced gratitude, stopped in his track before he even went to see the priest, before he even got to go be reunited wherever he came from. It was important enough for him to turn around and go back and express gratitude. And I think that's why it's important when Jesus told him, go on your way, your faith has made you well. And I think he meant more than just he was healed from the leprosy. I think he knew that that faith and that life of gratitude that he was living was going to make things well on down the road, both in this life and in eternity. So I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. I hope maybe you'll take this message and think about, do I stop and do more than just say thank you? Do I actually walk back? Do I actually stop what I'm doing and go find a way to live in gratitude? I hope you do, and I hope you all have a great, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks.